All right. It's Tuesday. We're going live on this little um, insights about the draft and what happened and why everybody is so down on the 49ers draft picks. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Don't know. All right. Let's get into it. Cameron Latu. A lot of people didn't like this pick. You guys know who you are. You guys don't like the pick for reasons that you don't you can't see the potential, you can't see the talent. So let's look back into what Cameron Latu was before he became a tight end. He was a defensive end, um, but I guess Nick Saban went to him and you know asked him that they needed help on the tight end side, and he transitioned over to a tight end, and he got picked in the third round. So what? With Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, always they pick like um, running backs in the third round that didn't pan out. So I was just glad. I'm just glad that they went away from that and they picked up two tight ends actually that is going to help them. A lot of people are pretty down on our picks. I'm not. I mean, they didn't have a first or a second rounder, so they took flyers on people that they evaluated that will be really, to me, they're going to come in and they're going to compete with the other players that we have on the team right now, and it just shows you that a lot of people, which I don't understand, how can you say somebody is a worse pick? If you're a true 49ers fan and you say that this is the worst pick, are you saying that this guy just plain out suck? Yeah, you might have saw some other players that you could have thought that were better, but we have a good team and scouts in the front office that not just work with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, but they get the job done in the later rounds. Obviously, the third rounds, the running backs that they've gotten before didn't really pan out. So, but we will see a lot of these players that they picked. They methodically thought over and saw what they could be, what their potential is, and I'm telling you, you get a guy that's like that used to be a defensive end, and you put him in as a tight end. You know what happens in the red zone? More touchdowns will happen in the red zone. So when you evaluate somebody coming into, and for me, those players that I wanted the 49ers to get, Cameron Latu was on my list of players that I wanted the 49ers to get. He was the only one that the 49ers got. Blake Freeland was one of them. He got picked by the Colts. And I know a lot of people was like, okay, we got to address the defensive, the offensive line, but they did that. Joey Fisher, they picked up in the undrafted free agency, and they signed him. He will come in and he will, um, hey, everybody had him slated to come into the 49ers, pick number 99, or picked in the third round, somewhere in the third round, right? He did not get drafted, but we still got him. That's the point. The point is our front office, they know what they're doing. We need to be able to, as a fan and as somebody that just looks from the outside in, I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, they didn't go get my guy, so I'm gonna trash all the players that they did pick up in the draft or in as a free agent. I'm not going to do that. I can criticize the way these players play, and my whole mantra about everything is it's not how you get to the league, whether you're a first rounder or undrafted, it does not matter. It's you got there. You get there as a player. And once you get there, you do everything that you have in your power to prove everybody wrong. Everybody talks about chip on their shoulders. Well, these guys should have chips on their shoulders that we picked up. Willis, he said that, he's going to make sure that all 31 teams know what kind of player he is. So he put that out there. All of our players are going to be good. And I was listening to John Chapman and Wayne Breezy and Johnny Dell earlier, and they, what Breezy said, what Wayne Breezy said, is something that I've always thought, right? Is the 49ers got the player that can do something for them, like with the kicker. Okay. The kicker, he kicked him in ice cold weather out there in Michigan. He had special teams. Well, their coaches were they're NFL coaches because Jim Harbaugh and Brad Seeley, they're there. So of course, there's the understanding that these guys have evaluations on their own players. Not saying that Harbaugh pumped this guy up, Moody, but I mean, you go look at the tape, he made the kicks and everything. Now, if the San Francisco 49ers did not get him where they got him, you better believe that the Patriots would have picked him up. I mean, they traded up in the 4th round to pick a kicker, and so they would have snagged Moody. I know a lot of people talk about other kickers and stuff and things like that, but how did those kickers do in big games? And that's what we got to think about. How did they do in big games? Did they under pressure to win big games? Did they come through? So I mean, Michigan, the defense just got beat in the. So it wasn't Moody that lost them the game, but just think about that, okay? And everybody that's out here to attack on do an attack on a lot of our players that we drafted. I mean, they gave a D. Mel Kiper said that the San Francisco 49ers had the worst draft. All right. These are the same guys that said that guys like Hufanga cannot make it in the league, that George Kittle was an okay tight end. All right. Fred Warner wasn't going to be an all pro or basically anything as a linebacker. These are the same guys that said that. So go back and look at their track record on how they do on evaluating players. Because I got to tell you, like, just because a guy's 40 time is not fast, that is really different from game speed. Take that from me. I wasn't the fastest player. But game time, you're not getting away from me. And a lot of these players, that's how they think. Game time, you're a lot faster. Game speed is a lot faster than just lining up and running a 40. Why do you think the Olympic sprinters, they train and they run with other people? Because it gets them better and faster. That's why. So if people will sit there and think that just running a great 40 time, that's a lot of speed. Yeah, these guys can speed up and they're big. Oh, what's up, Bryant? Loved your show yesterday. Bryant Cope has a show, and he's getting a lot of members, a lot of people subbing to his show. So If you're seeing this on other stream platforms, please come to YouTube and press the like button and everything, because the comments that happen on LinkedIn and on Twitter will not happen here on YouTube. So just a thing to add there. But anyways, I just going back on how people want to attack our draft and say that that the San Francisco 49ers had a very bad draft. We're just gonna you can DM me on Twitter, Bryant. Let's do a show when you're ready. I'm good to go with that. Yeah, so everybody's attacking our players, and the one thing that I don't like is when somebody tells you that this player is not good. Like, to say somebody is the worst pick the 49ers had in the draft, you don't even know what the guy's going to be like when they play in the game yet. You don't know what it's going to be like if they make the 53-man roster. Then what will you say then? Is there going to be backtracking on what you say? We shouldn't have to come out here and tell other fellow content creators that that they're wrong on their assessment of players, but some of these guys have been wrong the last couple of months. Their evaluation on everything was wrong. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's pretty much what it boils down to, because if you're going to say that Cameron Latu is the worst player that they drafted this year and he becomes a Pro Bowler next year, like Hufanga did, then what do you have to say for yourself? Your credibility is not there. This is exactly why I started my own channel, because I get tired of listening to mainstream media going out and just like saying things that they don't understand, they don't know. And first of all, these guys look like they've never played a down of football ever before. So if you're going to comment on something, comment on some things that they can improve on. That's what I'm about. How can these players improve so that they can make the team better? And that should be where we're at. When somebody says that they are here to talk about what this guy is missing, everything. No, coaches, when they coach, they see what a player can be, and they coach that player to at least get there. They give them that pathway, so that way they know if they need to improve on something, then the coaches will let them know, hey, this is what you need to improve in. You need to be in the gym more. You need to lift weights more. You need to go out and run 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles to get your endurance up. So that's where I'm going about this, is that if we sit here just as a fan or a content creator and we want to criticize a player that hasn't even touched the NFL field yet and say that they're a bad player or something, I wouldn't take it that far, guys. That's just not something that we should be talking about. We should talk about, hey, what this guy can do to improve, to help this team improve. And especially with the San Francisco 49ers, we're looking to go to the Super Bowl this year and win it. And for my thoughts and what I see with the players that we picked up, not just in the draft, but in free agency, those that were undrafted, we got some ballers that are coming to the end, coming into this organization, to San Francisco. So we got some guys that is going to just slay it. But we can't just be here and just say this guy sucks. How can you say a guy sucked that just got drafted to go into the NFL? And I know some people didn't say that, but that, to me, that just sounds like they're telling telling everybody, hey, this player really he's not that good. So I don't know why this GM or this coach picked him. Well, if these same guys are the same guys telling us that this player is not that good, then tell me this: how come you are not running an organization? How come you're not running the San Francisco 49ers or in the front office with them? Because you're not there, you're not a really good evaluator if you're going to say something like that. So that's my point. So it's Mac Attack Day, and I'm gonna come at anybody that tells me that a certain player who hasn't played down in the NFL is not that good because they haven't seen what they've gotten. Just think about if they would have trusted somebody saying that kind of stuff about George Kittle or Christian McCaffrey or Debo Samuels, or Brandon Ayuk, or any of the players that we have in the building right now. It's after their second year, third year, we start saying, "Hey, this player wasn't it." But to say that before the person even gets started, come on now. Let's just be real about things. There's not any time that you should be saying things like that. If you don't like a certain player, then just say, "Hey, I just don't like this player." Period. He's not what I thought that he could be on the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think he can improve the San Francisco 49ers. Now, a lot of these guys, they take to Twitter and they go on they have their shows and stuff. They have a lot of followers, by the way. Have a lot of followers, but then you read the comments from the followers that are following these same guys. It's like, are these guys really? Are they really 49er fans? And one of them is not a 49er fan, and he has like thousands of followers, but he used to be a 49er fan when he was a kid. But sometimes his evaluations on certain players and everything is just wrong. Sometimes they're right, and he likes to push back. So that's where I'm at. I want people to come onto my channel and see that not only am I a fan, but I'm going to say exactly what I see. But these guys, they have access to the media room, and they have access to the 49ers. And so sometimes we kind of trust what they say more than what we see on the field, because I'm not there when they're practicing. I'm not there. They are. They can evaluate a lot better that way. But I cannot wait until they see these guys on the field, because I know one of those guys, and I don't want to say names or anything like that, because I think all the content creators out there are doing this because not only one, that it'll help me, it'll help them and their family, because they make money from it, but also that I get to understand other people's viewpoints on everything. Like, so sorry, Bryant. Let me just read this real quick. Let me put this up here. So SJ, I don't know who SJ is. Can you let me know that? But a lot of times, just going back to my thoughts, I don't know who SJ is. So he went to Dallas. I mean, I had a lot of guys that I had that I wanted the 49ers to get. They went to other places. But I think the guys that the 49ers got should help the 49ers, especially the linebacker Winters. I think he's going to show some real stuff this summer. Uh, but they picked up some linebackers that can go sideline to sideline, and they're really fast. So my big guy, the guy that I really liked, I mean, I really liked the Cameron Latu pick because it's one of the guys that I had on my board for the 49ers to draft. And that was the only one that the 49ers drafted. He was the only guy. I had the Ika kid. He went to the Browns. I had Freeland. He went over to the Colts. And then I had Noah Sewell. He went over to Chicago. And Chicago likes those linebackers, those dumping linebackers. He really likes those guys. So, but we see that there's just a lot of talent that the 49ers brought in, and a lot of them happened in the back end of the draft. I mean, we saw that with Brock Purdy. Nobody gave that guy a chance, and look what he did. We had some undrafted guys in the past that did really well, that a lot of people didn't think too much about, but they did well for our team, undrafted free agents. So that's just it's to me, if you're going to put out content on talking about some players that come in, yeah, you might not like it, but say what you say that's good about it. I mean, I heard everybody, they talk about the kind of measurables that Cameron Latu has. Maybe I'm just being like this because Cameron Latu is Tongan and I'm Tongan. So, and then Hufanga is Tongan. So, of course, I'm going to like those guys. Of course, I think a little bit, maybe a little bit more of what those guys can be. But to not even think of, okay, the 49ers picked them. They must have saw something there. Something was there for them to pick this player at this time. And I know in the past, and I even talked about this with the Seahawks Eddie yesterday, is that I really wanted Metcalf. We got Debo instead. I'm still, hey, Debo's really good player, great player. But I wanted Metcalf in that draft. And he could just look at how good Metcalf is. I mean, Debo is really good. Don't get me wrong. That's my dude. But just think about it. If you don't give a player a chance, and I know it's still early and everybody's talking this stuff, but you just gotta understand that these players, they work hard to get here, and I'm not going to discredit any of the players for that. I mean, I reached out to one of the players that didn't get drafted. Nobody even gave him a call. Nobody's even giving him a shot. These are the type of players that if they, no matter how they go about it, they can end up like a Kurt Warner, stocking shelves somewhere, and the 49ers or somebody sees this guy playing in an arena league or a semi-pro thing and like, hey, this guy is actually pretty good. Those are the type of players that if they get on the team and they become a hey Bryant, thanks for coming on, man. Swinging by. We'll see you. Those are the type of players that I want the 49ers to give a chance to, because I think I've said this before, some of the players that the 49ers drafted earlier on with John Lynch and with Kyle Shanahan, those guys, some of those players didn't even it was more of their mindset was not, hey, I got to prove myself. Their mindset is, I got drafted a little higher than this other player, so I deserve to be here. That was their mindset. So That's not what this is about. This is about don't come out and just say that this is a bad draft like all the media people are saying. I don't want you to. I don't want them to think that I'm um, trying to go toe to toe with them. I wouldn't mind. They come on the show. Great. Let's do this. Let's get on the show together and let's hash it out. Let's do it. So um, it just it just bothers me that you're not giving credit to the guys that got drafted. And just because the guys that you thought should have gotten drafted are not with the San Francisco 49ers, that doesn't mean that these are not good players. And I'm not saying like, I was watching some of the other guys earlier today, and they said, "Well, it's not about you as a player. It's about John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. There was other players that were available at that time." That's exactly what I'm talking about. They missed that they're not the ones evaluating these talented players coming into the league. The front office is. Now, whether that translates um, into them becoming great players, we will see. We will know. So we just need to give it time. And the other thing is, I really would like, and I'm going to send this over to Larry Kruger. I really like to go back on his show and talk with Larry about this whole Trey Lance thing, because his reading of the tea leaves, it kind of upset like half of the fan base and the other half of the fan base. I thought it was pretty cool that him and Ryan had a bet about Trey Lance going. I said it before. Once Trey Lance got hurt, once Brock Purdy got hurt in the NFC Championship game, I I, I said it on multiple shows, multiple guys, that Trey Lance is going to have a great year because one, I think he's healthy enough now, and two, we're just going to see a different side, a different player. He's hungry, a hungry player. Um, he's going to be ready. He's going to be ready to go. So I look for him to be one of the better quarterbacks this coming season and proving himself that he's going to be the guy that they thought he was when they drafted him and they gave up multiple picks for him, first round picks. There's a lot of picks they gave up for him, but I have it's just a gut feeling that I have. Now a lot of people go by gut feeling, so I'm going by my gut feeling. I have a gut feeling that Trey Lance is he's gonna be a rock star this year, or a really good quarterback this year, and the NFL is going. Just get prepared. Just get prepared because the NFL is going to see why Trey Lance was um, that the 49ers pick, the third pick in the draft a couple years ago. They're going to see it. There's so many weapons that the San Francisco 49ers have, and they're going to do a lot of different things um, to create mismatches. Well, you don't have to do that no more. You had George Kittle, you lined up Latu and Willis as your set right there with Debo and Christian McCaffrey in the background, or Brandon Ayuk. Who are you going to cover in that red zone? Which guy are you going to double team? Because if it's Debo or Brandon Ayuk or George Kittle or Latu or Willis, who you're going to cover? It's going to be really hard for teams to cover the San Francisco 49ers offense this year. Defense, we haven't even gotten to the defensive side yet. We haven't even gotten there. We we'll talk about defense. I'll talk about defense tomorrow. But today, the offensive side, they must have saw something in Colt McKivitz and and Nick Zakel that they really liked. So they didn't take an offensive tackle this year, or or they knew something was up, and they were able to get Joey Fisher as an undrafted free agent. So once they got him, I was like, dang, that's pretty good. Then they went out and got the Hawaii kid. Hey, and these two guys are not going to. I mean, all of the draft picks that they have, it's not it's not going to cost the San Francisco 49ers a lot of money. And that's the genius behind everything that these guys are doing. And I mean, John Lynch played in the NFL. Kyle saw a lot of stuff sitting behind his dad and just watching his dad um, with that Denver team. And so what we need to understand is these guys know what they're doing. They're building a really good team, and if they mess up, yeah, we're going to criticize them. We are. But back to Larry. I would like to get. I'm going to send this to Larry on so that way he and I can talk about doing a show together, because um, it's interesting for me to see how people are getting their information. Who are they? I mean, they have their sources. They don't have to name them. I just want to know, like, how are they going about doing this? I like to hear from the direct source. Larry probably heard it from a direct source, and that source um, fed it to them, because I think just like anything, 40 somebody in the 49ers organization could have just said something and it just caught wildfire, and you hear it and everybody runs with it. So um so yeah, Larry, that's the Larry Krueger show. I want to be able to chat with that guy. So I've been on a lot of shows before, and um a lot of the things that my takeaways from coming from those things is that a lot of these guys, they do a lot of work, and they immerse themselves in it, so that way they know what they're talking about when they come and present on their channels. So which is good, and I know Krueger, he's relentless on this. So it's kind of interesting to me that I want to be able to talk with him and about some of the ways that he's going about getting this information, because that the Trey Lance thing was, that was he. I could have told him that's not going to happen, and he wouldn't have lost that bet with Ryan with Ryan G. So I could have told him that, and I've told everybody that Trey Lance is going to be the quarterback coming the first game of the year. He's going to be the quarterback. And the reason why I believe that is because Brock Purdy sustained a significant injury. I mean, the injury was bad, and to recover from those type of injuries, it's a lot of rehab, and a lot of rehab, you can have setbacks and everything with them, but at the same time, you got to be mentally prepared also. So if you're not mentally prepared, and you're if your body is already good, let's say he's 100% sure he can throw it and everything, there is a psychological part to it of what if I get hit the same way again and it takes me out of the game for a long time. Because if you're just recovering from those type of injuries, of course the doctors will tell you this is your 100%, but it could happen again if you get hit that way again, because it's still early. Those kind of injuries, to me, it should take about a year to recover from. And I've said it before, and I've said it many times. That's kind of stuff that Brock Purdy needs to think about, first of all, when he goes through and he has assessments on his arm and how it feels. but also be mentally prepared. So that way he doesn't get psyched out or get injured, re-injured, and it'll hurt more. So that's just those are my that's my thoughts on that Trey Lance and Brock Purdy stuff. Um, so we just the 49ers did a really good job not having a first and second round pick. I mean, they picked up the safety from Penn State, which um, I think a lot of people love his upside and think that he's going to push Gibson for the starting role sometime this coming season. And Jake Moody, we just needed a kicker. Plain and simple, we needed a kicker. They say he's one of the best kickers to come out in the last couple of decades. But we just got to remember, even though it was the third round, they got the kicker. Not a lot of people loved it. I mean, I didn't really like it that much. I thought that he would have went a little bit, probably in the fifth or sixth round, but they got him. They went and got him because I think they knew that the rumors were going to be true and that the Patriots were going to pick him, and that's why they picked him at that point. That's why they picked him. So we just have to understand that some of these picks are for. CG said it yesterday on our roundup that they picked up a lot of these players to help on special teams, which I think it's good for them to get on special teams because the speed of the game they will they it's a lot faster than it was in college. So the game is a lot faster, a lot bigger guys, faster guys, and quicker guys. So the speed of the game is legit. So getting on special teams, it's really fast. So that's some of these picks they're going to be on special teams while they hone in their craft and get better and better. And we saw what happened from Talanoa Hufama's rookie year to second year. I mean, just like that, Pro Bowl, real quick and easy. So a lot of these guys will come in and they'll start on special teams. We have some players that started right away. That's just because they were just that good. So some of these guys maybe just that good. It'll be interesting to see Jack. There's a Jake. Let's see what my name is at. Yeah, Jake Toledo. So I had this conversation with Coach Tuyaki and Wolf from Niner Gang Wolfcast a couple of months ago, right after the NFC Championship. So I posed the question, should the 49ers go out and get a player like Taysom Hill? I mean, I would love for them to have had Taysom Hill in that NFC Championship game, but they didn't. We didn't have him. So we had Josh Johnson. And we all see where that went. So when they signed this kid, Jake Toledo, and you see the highlights, he can throw, he can run, he can block, he can tackle. He can play on offense or defense. Straight up, there's our Taysom Hill right there. It's like, hey, they probably read my mind or watched that part of my show where they say, hey, that makes sense. Let's go get a Taysom Hill. If we can only carry 3 quarterbacks into a game and all 3 of them go down, who are they going to line up Juszczyk again or Christian McCaffrey to be the quarterback? We all saw what disaster that was. That doesn't work. So They went out and got a guy who could be a fullback, who could be a linebacker, who can be a tight end, and who could be a quarterback. And he throws a pretty good ball. So they went out and got a Taysom Hill type player and put him on this team. So undrafted free agent. Okay. Then they went and got a Mauler. Undrafted free agent. This guy is a mauler. He is super strong. He's he's the fastest lineman coming out this year in this core group of this undrafted free agent. But with all the people that were drafted, he was the fastest, and if I'm not mistaken, he was the strongest also. Like this guy, this guy is really good. So just 1 second. Get a tissue here. I got really bad allergies. If you live in Utah and St. George, I have allergies here. When I go up to Salt Lake, there's no allergies. I don't freaking sneeze at all, which I find like crazy. I used to live in Sacramento, and my allergies were just bad out there. So it's bad out here too. It's all good. But getting back into talking about all the stuff that's happening right now for the San Francisco 49ers, they did some really good moves. Other people might say no, might say this. They're the draft. The draft sucked, right? And a lot of people, yeah, they could be down because there wasn't a first round or a second round draft pick. But how are you going to pay all these guys? How are you going to pay a first round pick this year with the cap situation that we have? Where are you going to get the money from? We still have to get Nick Bosa signed for a long-term contract. He still needs to be signed. So if you're going to get a first and second rounder this year, where's the money coming from? I don't understand all those things. I don't understand anything about like the salary cap and how much money can go here and there. But that could be for another show with somebody else that knows about those things. So, but to put it in context, the San Francisco 49ers, they did get some really good players this year. One of the things that I found interesting about the players that they went out and got were these players were really good on their team. Like they were really, really good. And it just and they're high character guys. This is what I'm hearing. Now that might not be true on some of them, but it seems like they were very liked in their locker room, and that they were really good players to be around. So that's just the type of players that we need. We don't need players that come with distractions. The Eagles picked up a player that comes with distractions. He's one of those guys that got picked up. The Rams when they got a guy that comes with distractions. We know what happens when you get guys that come with distractions. Okay, let's go back to Aldon Smith. Really, really good player. He would have had a Hall of Fame career. One of the best players to come out ever. I mean, he was good. He would have broken so many records if he didn't come with all those distractions, all the off-field stuff. If he would have just came in and was not doing all those other stuff away from the field and just been a really good high character guy, for sure, locked in Hall of Fame career. He probably would have broken a lot of the records, and I don't think anybody could have caught his records because he was that good. Once that guy got his hands on you, it was over. It was over. Guy was that good. But he off field stuff happened. Okay. Reuben Foster, same situation. Linebacker, great on tape, great on film. Character issues. Character issues. So looks like the guys that we have, the core that we have coming in this year, they have really high character about them. So, uh, you know, it's good to have guys like that in the building that can come in and contribute and have good character. So that's what you need in a locker room. Guys that are brothers to brothers and will um, do what they need to make sure they reach that goal. And just when I did a show and I talked about that, about Fred Warner telling the players, okay, this is our goal. This is what we need to do. We need to have, don't let outside noise or distractions get in the way. And then Charles Menahue, that happened. He was accused of it. I don't know if it was real or not, but they felt that she wasn't being honest about the whole situation, and so he was able to play that Sunday. But those are the type of things that we don't need. Those type of distractions. So hopefully these guys coming in, it seems like they have good character about them, and then and they can help the team out in many ways. It's always good to have people that you can trust and be supportive of you and have really high good character about them, that they see the goal and where you're trying to get to. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers, they haven't won a Super Bowl since 94. So this has got to be that year. It's going to be exactly what? 30 years? 30 years? Wow. If you remember where you were at 30 years ago, some of you might not have even been born. Heck. So it's a long time. But the quest for six started in the offseason with the signings that we have and then the players that we're bringing in to the draft. Like the signing that we have of Javon Hargrave, hey, that was a good signing. That was an indication that the San Francisco 49ers are serious about this year. They brought in Sam Darnold to be a backup. Let me make that clear. He's not here to be the number one quarterback. And I know a lot of players, a lot of people are saying that he's gonna be the number one quarterback on this team. He's not. But if he does beat out Trey Lance, then yes, we do need to move on from Trey Lance. But I don't think that's going to happen. I highly doubt that Trey Lance is going to lose out to Sam Darnold. I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it at all. Yes, we do have a good run game. A run game helped Sam Darnold there with the Panthers this past year. But we have a guy that can also that can do multiple things that are really good. Maybe he doesn't have the short game like some people, but the upside is there, and we just need to see it. And I got to give Larry Krueger some credit here. He did say that he wants to see it. He just haven't saw it. But that's exactly right. You haven't saw it because he was hurt. And they made the biggest mistake of all of not playing him his first year. Jimmy Garoppolo should have been traded when Trey Lance came into the league. They should have did that. But because experience is what they needed for a quarterback. But now we don't have an experienced quarterback. So I can see where Larry's going with this, and some of the other people talking about this, um, is that just the experience is not there. I mean, my good buddy Bryant Cope, he pushed back on me when I said that before, and I just say, hey, I think Trey Lance is going to be one, and Bryant, he knows, because he says he just don't want to give somebody the reins or the keys um, to the team without proving it first. But here's where I push back on that. If he didn't, um, if he didn't do that last summer, why did they give him the? So I pose this question: why did they give him uh, the starting job instead of somebody else that was on the team? Um, because he didn't get beat out. They didn't beat him out during the summer last year, and that's why they named him as the starter. Their mistake was they should have did that the year before, so that way he can have that experience in there. Because yes, it's true, Trey Lance lacked experience in the NFL. He's got 4 starts. That's very true, but he's got all the tools to be a good quarterback in this in the NFL. He's got all the tools, and I think by adding more tools this year, they added some pretty good firepower. A lot of people say, "Well, how come they didn't get drafted earlier?" Well, how come George Kittle didn't get drafted earlier? How come a lot of the players that you see that are really good in the NFL, how come they didn't get drafted earlier? Right? Let's go and look at some of those players. Why they didn't get drafted earlier? So you can say those kind of answers. Why this and why that? All I can say is it's going to be a really good year for the San Francisco 49ers with Trey Lance. And if it isn't, then we can come back and we can look at what I said here today. We can go back and look what I said back in January after the NFC Championship game. We can go back and look at that. That's the good thing about having a channel, because it's recorded. You can go back and look through it and see what you said or what you didn't say. So there's a lot of times a lot of people give up hope. They give up on a player too early, and a lot of times it's a mistake. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can just see that that's not a good player, like the player that the Raiders had, the quarterback, Russell, right? How good was he? He had a really deep ball, but that's all about it. No accuracy. I mean, just because he flung it 80 yards doesn't mean that he's going to be, doesn't mean that it's going to translate over into the NFL. He's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, right? So going back to what I was talking about, you go back and you say, how come this player was not drafted in those earlier rounds? Tom Brady was not drafted in the earlier rounds. All right. Terrell Davis didn't get drafted in the earlier rounds. Good running back. Okay. Same thing with Kurt Warner. You can say that about him. How come he didn't get drafted earlier? These are Hall of Fame guys that we're talking about here. Okay. How come he didn't get drafted at this time? That's where I'm going with this. A lot of people are criticizing what the players that the 49ers got right now, but they don't understand that it's going to take a little bit. But I'll do this. Trey Lance is going to have a really great year this year, and if he doesn't, anybody can come over onto my show and put up some stakes. All right, we can do that. So, all right. The next part about this Mac Attack Hour is we're going to be able to understand more of what type of team that we have here in the next couple of months. And so it's very exciting. Can't wait till there's going to be OTAs, training camp, preseason. It's going to be interesting to see how they go into the season, what the 53-man roster is going to be. And I really believe that the San Francisco 49ers are going to have a really, really good year. They're really going to have a really good year. And because, not just because Trey Lance is going to ball out this year, we picked up some pretty good offensive weapons and defensive weapons. We did lose some really good ones, and hope them well and all the best in the new teams that they go to. But what's more important is the San Francisco 49ers get that ring, number 6. That's been, oh man, we have 2 Super Bowl losses. They should have been 7 there. There should have been 7 rings. But it's going to start right here. It already started with all the signings that we had, and now with the draft being over and all the signings that they're having right now, that's where we can see that the San Francisco 49ers are going to be, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that the 49ers are going to be really good this year. And a lot of people is going to come back, and they're going to come back and see what I said here and say whether I was right or was wrong. That's just the debate that I'm willing to have with anybody. So bring it on. With that, that's all for this Tuesday. Tomorrow we'll talk about defense. So we'll get to it tomorrow with defense. This is the Mac Attack Show on Big Mac Sports. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.